Hi, everyone, and we are back. You are at the sixth annual She Is Me conference, and today is our sneak peek for the She Is Me at Sea speakers. And we are so pleased to be with Ronisha Shead. Ronisha is going to be with us on the cruise, but she's got a great presentation today, so enjoy. Thanks, Ronisha.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm excited to be here and share my story, but most importantly, I'm so excited that I get to somehow help you all who are attending, and I just feel so grateful. If you've had a chance to read the title, I'm calling this talk Third Time's a Charm: How Divorce Set Me Up for Success. And when people ask me how I found success, I say through three last names, one broken engagement ring, and a whole lot of therapy. So, this talk, ironically, isn't actually about divorce. It's really about alignment. It's about how I had to fail a few times to find my authentic, true self and live that life, that authentic life. So here's what we're going to cover. We're going to talk about how to stop fearing failure and start using it as a blueprint for growth. We're going to talk about pivoting and how to pivot boldly, reclaim your narrative, and build a life that fits who you are now. And we're going to talk about how to quit performing for others and start living your purpose filled life. So you can see this is me. A lot of my misconception of love stem from my childhood. When I was growing up, I felt like I was loved as a child. My mom was our primary caretaker. My mom and dad were together. They're still together now. They've been married 51 years, but my mom primarily fed us and she clothed us. So that was how she showed her love. Little did I know at the time that feeding your children is a parental obligation. So basically, instead of giving my mom gift cards and handwritten notes for Mother's Day, I probably should have just been matching her 401k like her other job, because clearly taking care of kids was just a job for her. The downside of parenting and just showing your children love through care, like cooking and cleaning and providing and managing all the day to day responsibilities of a parent, is that you can unintentionally leave an emotional gap in a child's development. And that's exactly what happened to me. As a child, I felt unseen, and therefore I tended to accept love that was initially very attentive. I was drawn to that person who showed me attention, who showed me affection. I can go on and on about my mom, and you can see in the picture also clearly she didn't know how to style hair. In every picture, I had the same hairstyle in every school picture. But I digress a little bit. I ignored the red flags like many of us do. And because of what I learned as a child about love, I ignored the red flags before I got married. I ignored red flags like a good morning, beautiful text from a stranger. I was a young 20 something, and I wanted love more than I wanted logic or for things to make sense. I confused potential with partnership in my first marriage. I was willing to wait or set aside what I really wanted in a spouse to just settle for my basic needs being met. For example, we had a roof over our heads, we had vehicles to drive, we had food to cook every day, and the kids were taken care of. But when I was changing over the years and I was ready to do more, I was ready to level up and do more than just the status quo living that we had been living, Suddenly, I was too ambitious. I was too bougie. I was this, I was that. There was nothing wrong with our current life. Our current life. I heard everything. But then I wondered, how could I endure 10 more years of marriage? Because at that time, we've been married for 10 years. We had 4 kids, and things were pretty settled. But even after that, I made the decision to leave. One of the hardest decisions I ever made in my life, because at 20 something and now I'm a 30 something year old woman, I went back and got my education. I was now an English college professor, and I was ready to dream bigger and dream even more louder. But I was also very afraid of what people might think if I wanted a divorce. I was afraid of failure. I was afraid of judgment. And thinking about my mom, she stuck it out with my dad for 51 years. And my dad, although loved him to death, he wasn't a great husband. Great dad, great husband. So I had some thinking to do. I had some growing to do in that area. I was coming to terms that my marriage was pretty much over. I even remember coming home one day, and before going into the house, I just sat in the car and I decided to write out a pros and cons list. And once I got finished, the cons outweighed the pros. And that's when I knew I had to do something different. So here's where we are. I had to stop fearing failure. I had to start using it as a blueprint for growth. But also, for the first time in my life, I had to put myself first. I was a young mom. I was managing 4 children. So, of course, the kids came first, then the husband came first, and all the other responsibilities. And I was always dead last. This time, this decision was about me. It was not about my relationship. It was not about my children, my parents, or anyone other than Ronisha. I had to choose growth over guilt. I had to choose evolution over embarrassment. And I had to choose purpose over people's opinions. But most importantly, I had to reframe what I thought about failure. And I had to realize that failure isn't a shameful thing. It's an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity to put yourself first and do what's best for you. For me, to fail was my first attempt in learning. Or one of my favorite saying, and what I share with my kids today, favorite saying, it was forever acquiring important lessons. So when you fail, you have to decide you're going to grow from it. I decided to grow from my first marriage, my first failed attempt at marriage, and I ended up in Dallas, Texas. And as you can see, this is my first apartment in Dallas, Texas. What a pivot. What a pivot. I had a new apartment. I started a new career, and I was really happy with the direction my life was going. But there was something missing. I always felt something was missing in my life. I started about being in another relationship again, maybe even getting married again. I didn't ask myself at the time what that feeling or where that feeling was coming from, but I know now it was coming from an unhealed little girl, still looking for validation, looking for a relationship to give her validation and comfort, and still looking to be seen and heard and accepted. And I always felt marriage was the solution for that. So, in my second marriage, I chose stability over truth. Everything looked great on paper. He was in a career that he loved. He lived in his own apartment. He didn't need my help for anything. He had a car. His nickname was even Mr. Sweetheart. But he was actually a cavity waiting to happen. Granted, he was even shorter than me. but his nerve was as tall as Shaquille O'Neal. But again, I can't have everything, right? I can't get everything that I want in this life. And that's the lie I told myself over and over in this marriage. I can't have this. I can't have that. It doesn't matter. Clearly, those things did matter. My second husband was given Russell Wilson on the outside and Future on the inside. So, Russell Wilson, he was nice and charismatic and fun. And Future, he was dark, he was dishonest, and he was just downright mean at times. If I wanted to go left, he wanted to go right. When we dated, we agreed on pretty much everything. But after the marriage, we were so far apart. I even remember on our wedding day sitting in our closet, not wanting to get married, but not having the guts to call it off either. And then in 2020, I was diagnosed with stage 4 brain cancer. A strained marriage got even more strained. Well, my surgeon told me to just go on a cruise and live out whatever life I had left. My then husband decided to move out of the bedroom into a guest room upstairs. The truth couldn't have hit me harder than a brick. I was married to someone who just didn't care about me or love me. And as I thought about it, I'm pretty sure he really never had the capacity to love me from the beginning. I saw signs. I had to face the hard truth about who I was married to. And as eager as I was to get a divorce during my cancer battle, I knew I needed to focus on my treatment and my healing. My mother flew down from North Carolina to Texas to stay with me for 3 months to be my caretaker. And during that time, I had 2 brain surgeries. I started chemo and radiation, and I started basically my cancer journey. But after my cancer journey, I made a pivot. I made the big decision to move back home to North Carolina. I was starting my life over in North Carolina. My divorce was soon to be finalized. I was happy. I was back at home with my parents. But living back at home with your parents in your 40s, it was given independent woman with a curfew. But it taught me a lot of lessons. My second divorce taught me, of course, how to pivot boldly, how to reclaim my narrative, and build a life that fits who I was and who I was becoming. Before pivoting, you'll need to know where you're pivoting from. To do that, you'll have to reflect on what feels forced or what's out of alignment for you. Is it your career? Is it your health? Is it your relationship or any relationship, whether romantic or just familial? My marriage was out of alignment. It had been for a long time, but I was ready to face that truth and I was ready to do something about it. You'll have to decide on a path forward without seeking approval or opinions. And this was always really hard for me because I like to share and get thoughts from my parents. But when I was ready to face this truth, I was ready to do it by myself. And I didn't get anyone's thoughts or opinions on what I should do or why I shouldn't do something. You'll need to rewrite your story because it's okay to start over. Reinvention isn't shameful, just like failure isn't shameful. Starting over, it doesn't matter how old you are. You're allowed to pivot at any age, at any point in your life, and you're allowed to reinvent yourself at any point of your life. Because when you reinvent yourself, you're actually honoring the version of yourself that refuses to stay stuck. One day I just remember praying and I said, God, if I never love romantically again, I'm okay. I'm okay with that because I have your love. The resolve I had in my 20s and my 30s to find love was gone. I was happy. I no longer needed validation from a relationship. I knew I was seen, I knew I was loved, and I knew I was enough for myself. I had the love and the support of my family, my friends, especially my children, and now I'm a Nona, my grandchildren, and a few great things happened along the way. I finished 33 radiation sessions and 2.5 years of cancer, of chemotherapy. I was cancer free. I bought my first house without a co buyer. I started two new careers. I became a real estate broker and a public speaker. And then it happened again. Something happened that I didn't see coming. I met someone, we'll call him Mr. B. And when Mr. B arrived in my life, I was living a life rooted in privacy, peace, growth, and really true happiness. A life that was just not performative, it was not rushed, it was not for applause or accolades, and it wasn't for anyone but me. I must admit, there was some trepidation when Mr. B came around. I mean, I would side eye him so much that my eyes would get crossed. There was trepidation because I needed to make sure I was making the right decision. I needed to make sure he fit who I was at that moment, that he aligned with me, that he aligned with the healed version of me, and that he aligned with who I chose to be, the peaceful me. So I had to take time. I had to think about those things. When Mr. B came along, I did a lot of different things. In my other marriages, I would shrink to make my partners happy instead of making myself happy. When Mr. B arrived, I was no longer performing. I was no longer shrinking, and I was finally being my true, authentic self. I was okay being that silly, goofy, smarty pants person that my mom and dad laughed at, that my family loved and my friends knew. I was okay not always having to be put together. I wore less makeup. Sometimes I didn't do my hair. I was really enjoying being myself. Here's how you quit performing and start living in your purpose. You redefine what matters to you. Being what I felt others wanted me to be no longer served me. So, what mattered to me now was how happy in my own skin I was, and only being with someone who accepted my skin and wasn't trying to get me to change or mold me into what they wanted me to be. You have to build boundaries that protect your peace. I know without a doubt I am who I am because I chose to be this person. My values guide me, and I know they help me decide how I want to live. They're the driving force, really. And anyone who doesn't align with those values isn't for me. I knew that. And you'll have to recognize the performance trap and release the version of you that's always on. So you'll have to recognize when you're only doing things to please other people. And first find out why you're doing those things. Why do you feel that you want that approval? And then you'll have to, secondly, create a plan to stop doing those things because it won't serve you in the long run. And here's what I want you to do before we move to the next slide. I want you to declare these vows to yourself. I'm going to say the vows and then you're going to say them too. I vow to stop settling. I vow to stop ignoring red flags. I vow to rebuild, not repeat. I vow to protect my peace. I vow to remove any misalignment. I vow to choose myself first and always. I hope you said that really, really loudly. Everyone, thank you so much. I am Ronisha Shead. I help women reinvent themselves by reclaiming their confidence and rebuilding lives that are rooted in peace, purpose, and boldness, both personally and professionally. I will be speaking on the She Is Me at Sea. My topic is becoming a woman of influence. And if you would like to follow me in my journey and learn more about what I do, you can follow me on Facebook at Ronisha Speaks, as well as Instagram at Ronisha Speaks. And I also have a free download for you. It's called the Reinvention Roadmap to help you move past regrets to present purpose. And you can download that at ronishashead.com/reinvention.
Hi. I said
Hello.
all I said all of those things out loud. That was great.
Good. I'm glad.
I love this now. Right before you came on, I was talking to my Malak, and we were talking about how women really need mentors, and we really need the women who've come before us to help us through just life and things that that we don't have anymore. Where we used to have these extended families, and we're all connected. I don't have that. My mom's gone, my grandma's gone, like all of those things are gone.
Yeah.
And I was thinking when you were talking about or reading those vows, how I wish someone, when I was going through my divorce and, having identity crisis and, feeling insecure and feeling like, why did I do that? All the things, that I had someone like you to guide me through it, or this content even to guide me through it and to help me. Because I could feel that when you were reading it. I could feel it. And I was like, yes, yes, I wish someone had told me that. I wish somebody had told me those things.
I'm glad. I'm
So
glad.
yeah, thank you so much. So I'm sure you've helped so many with that have been here today, and I'm so excited that you're going to be on the cruise with us. And we were just talking about how I think that even though it wasn't great that we had to change the date, that it actually I think worked out for the best, because right now with everything that's going on, it might have been just a little nerve wracking for everyone, to travel
Yeah.
and stuff. So
Yeah.
I think May's a really good time. So join us May 2nd through 6th. We're going to be sailing from Los Angeles to Vancouver, and Ronisha will be there, as well as 30 other women, all leaders, all bringing something amazing together. And we're gonna celebrate not only being together, but just ushering in this new way of leading and this new way of being out in the world, because we're building something amazing. Every woman who's participating here this week, as well as every woman who's participating on the ship, we have a goal, and that goal is to create a better new world in which women are leading with community, with empathy, with heart, and and showing up for each other and being those mentors that we need, and building community, and all of those things. So, Ronisha, thank you very much for being here and being part of this. It's amazing.
Thank you, Lisa, so much. It was good. I enjoyed myself. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for sharing your journey. What a journey that was. I mean,
It's been a
wow.
journey,
Yeah, wow. And you're here. And that's the best thing.
and I'm here,
Yeah.
and I'm here, and I'm so grateful and thankful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be back at the top of the hour, and we're going to be joined by Carmen Reeves Jenkins. So we'll see you then.